back by popular demand. This is the Turnbucklepad podcast on YouTube.com. Respect wrestling or get out. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Turnbucklepad podcast. And I got a gentleman here from across the states. I've heard a lot about him just by reading up and following him and seeing his work on YouTube and on Facebook. And he sounded like someone I would really like to talk to, and I hope you guys enjoyed talking to. I want you to please welcome my guest, Mr. Mike Matthews. Mike, thanks for joining the show.
Yeah, no, thank you, man. It's a pleasure to be on. No problem at all, and let's get to these questions, man. Let's see what you got for me.
Well, how long have you been jumping off the top rope?
Oh man, let's see. My first professional match ever was in 2001. I was 17 years old. I was still in high school at that time. So my first professionally paid match was when I was 17 years old, and I've been doing it ever since. I had a little stint in a couple years ago where I got out of the ring for about a year and a half, and I just trained guys. I just used to clear my head, so all I did was train, and then it just so happened that those are the students that got me back into the game. So I would say about strong, almost 15 years now.
So you are a veteran in the business. Anybody that's 10 years plus is usually considered a vet, correct?
Yeah, it's funny because I'm starting to hear that a lot now, and it's just kind of funny. I consider a veteran anyone that's kind of like been to places and learned. Like anyone that's been to a place and messed up, fell on their face, just botched whatever they were going through, and was able to learn from it and then bring that to other people, and not just around their area but around the country. So a vet to me is somebody, it can be, you're saying 10 years plus. That can be 8 years, 9 years. It's just a guy that's seasoned, that's been able to be open to learning and never stop. That's a veteran to me. A veteran is not somebody that's just, a couple years in, works only once a month. Good for them, they're trying, but it's just a different thing when you're on the road every week, doing a show here in this state, doing a show here in this state. That's a veteran, putting miles on your car or in the air, whichever way.
Yeah. How would you explain to the fans the difference between a good worker and a bad worker? Because we know the business isn't sacred anymore, and kayfabe's dead, and people are being able to call matches and seeing things and know things before they even happen. So I think if fans are going to be educated, they need to know who the good workers are and who the bad ones are.
Yeah, you know what? I think a lot of people out there kind of, especially in the indies, you can go into any indie show and pretty much call who's going to win or lose. It's gotten to that point where kayfabe is just, it is kind of broken. But a good worker can still entertain you and connect with you, even though you have this gut feeling or you kind of know what's going to happen. He still is able to connect with you in a match. He's not just going out there doing a bunch of moves. He can be doing phenomenal stuff in the ring. If there's no connection, if you can't work in front of 30 people, what makes you think that you're going to be able to work in front of 3,000 people, or 30,000 people? So a good worker to me is somebody not just capable of doing, a move set or pulling off some big spot. It's a guy that can connect and be able to, after the show, be able to connect with people. And those people are drawn to that. They're not just drawn to moves, they're drawn to not even just so much a character, but to the person themselves. That's a connection. And last night I kind of got to witness. I'm out here in California, so it's like I got to do a show out here, and it was one of those nights, man, where it's just I got to see some of these guys just connect. Not do so much body stuff or flippy floppy stuff, but it's like the connection was there, and that's true workers to me. That's the main thing to me.
It's giving that fan that experience, that feeling, that something, that special something.
Right. You pull off a big move and you just look into somebody's eyes in the crowd and you have an instant connection. It's like you're working almost just for them, and that's something that a lot of workers do not have nowadays. It's just that's an art form in itself, and it's kind of a national pastime now with wrestling, and I just hope to see it come back.
Yeah, it's definitely missed because I mean, if you remember growing up, like in the '80s, '70s, wrestling was not that easy to figure out. This is back when it was actually considered real and it was still sanctioned by the Athletics Commission, which kind of brings me to my next question. And I know you're in California and you go to different states to do different shows. Are there different regulations for different companies, or is it pretty much the same thing everywhere?
Regulations, I mean, each state is its own governing body. So, if you go to, like, Missouri, you have to have, your blood test up to speed and all that stuff. You actually have to have a medical card. You go to Illinois, where I do shows at least twice a month. Yeah, they're different. They're different out there. They don't have that. So, I mean, I guess regulations, it's different, but each promotion itself is just different in its own aspect. You have some great promoters out there, and I kind of am in that place where I only work for good promoters, and it's not any shot from anyone else that's trying to build a promotion up. It's just that I'm in that point where it's like it's quality over quantity. I don't need to be doing 3 shows that week unless it's for guys that have my back and I have a good rapport. So I think that's the biggest thing with me. It's not so much the regulations. It's more like I look at it is building a trust and building a rapport with somebody. We build a rapport with them. They build a rapport with us, and we can hopefully make magic happen for whoever's in attendance. So I guess that answers your question.
Well, yeah, it does. I mean, like I said, being in Chicago, I mean, it's not very seen very kindly in some cases when it comes to pro wrestling. I mean, I live in the city and I've been to quite a few different companies. There's too many egos.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, keep going.
and that's something that flies around here and it kind of holds them back from actually pursuing their dream. And I'm sure it's not just Chicago. I'm sure there's percentages of it everywhere. What do you think is the best way to counter and handle someone like that when it comes to people like that getting into the business?
It's almost. I've dealt with many different types of egos in the last 15 years, and I feel like Chicago in around 2001 to 2003 was actually a very special time to be around there. You had some strong promotions out there, and you had guys like CM Punk and Colt Cabana, and guys like Ace Steel, all just awesome workers and all around the Chicagoland area. And then it kind of fell off a little bit, and then there was a new generation that came in, and it's not even like an ego. It's almost I was talking about it the other day with somebody. It's almost not ego. It's not like they're walking around in the back saying, "Oh, my shit doesn't stink" or whatever. It's almost like they're tunnel vision, and they're not willing to put in the effort. So we call it the 40-mile club. So it's like you're not willing to work 40 miles away from your house. You're not willing to put in a 24-hour drive like I saw some of my boys at freelance do to go to FIP down in Florida. Like that's the stuff that you need to be doing in this business if you really want to make it. If you want to be a local guy, be a local guy. If that's what your dream is just to do a couple shows a month in your local area, great for you. But if you really want to do some justice and you really want to, make an impact and then you can walk around with maybe a chip on your shoulders, you need to be able to put those miles in on your body, on your car, on your plane, whatever the hell you're traveling with, and you need to be able to not just have tunnel vision and not be blind to what you really are. And that's what I think the biggest problem is with a lot of workers is they don't truly see that there's thousands of workers out there, especially with the YouTube era now. I came up with no YouTube. It was videotape. It was sending people videotape. But now it's so saturated that what are you going to do? What makes you different than the next person? It's not so much character driven anymore. I mean, it's more like just what is that connection that the promoter really seeing what this business is really about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But of course, you got, there's a little handful of people that just walk around with their chest out, like in the back, that just don't talk to anybody. Those guys are still there, but I just, I don't really deal with those guys anymore.
Yeah, we got a couple of them here in Chicago.
Oh yeah, I mean they're everywhere. They're everywhere I've gone, and it's just, it's fine. Let them think what they want to think. Let them do what they got to do. The business does not revolve around them, so it's not even like worth talking about them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and guys like that, you kind of just. I just don't think guys like that would walk around with a chip on their shoulder if they didn't really put it in. I mean, if they put it in and they did the work, you're right. They have a right to have one because they earned it. But
Yeah.
on the same token, though, a chip on the shoulder has never really been a positive thing, no matter what situation it was being used in, because it doesn't make you look professional. It doesn't make you look humble. It doesn't make you look like a nice person or an approachable person, for that matter. It just makes you look really conceited.
Exactly. And a chip on your shoulder is coming and knowing what you're able to do. The difference between me, like I walk in with some kind of chip, knowing where I've been and what I've learned. I'm able to come into a situation wherever I am and know that I'm going to give it 100%, and I'm going to put on a show for these people. Like that's the chip that I carry, and the chip that you're talking about is just the absolute opposite. I'm going to come in here and it's just that ego-driven, not put on the work, walk away for a payday. Like, that's just, I don't know, man. That's just a different type of person. I've never been that guy. So it's like, I can't even tell you about the mindset of those people, because I've never been that person. I'm still a grinder all over the country trying to put in the work, So that's where I'm at. That's the chip I have, is that I know that I'm where I've been and what I can do, and I'm going to work my ass off to for whatever promotion is, putting me on that day.
And fans, I really hope if you're out there and you're really thinking about being a wrestler and you're listening to this interview, I really hope you're taking this to heart, because the formula and everything he just explained are pretty much the ground rules and the basics and the path you take to becoming a successful wrestler. Be realistic with yourself. And Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a lot of guys who are coming in who really aren't sure of themselves, so they use wrestling to try and vindicate that. But it shows up in their product, and then that's when we start getting the crybaby stage and things like that. What do you think about that?
I think that comes down to training. I trained for the APW Gold Rush School out here, Roland Alexander's old school. Beyond the Man, all that stuff. I train for them now, and I think it starts with the training. Like when you walk in the wrestling business, it's crazy because all your perception needs to be gone. You need to walk in with a blank slate and really kind of realize, you can come in thinking you're going to be this, you're going to be that, you have this gimmick up and up. You know what? You don't know anything until you step into that, in between those ropes, and start developing your style. You don't even know. You can go a complete 180 of what you thought you were going to do. And I think that's where it starts with the trainer. I'm the kind of guy that when I first meet you, I'm going to break you down, and I'm going to break you down physically first, to humble you up a little bit and let you know, like, this is where you need to be, and I want you to get there. And it's not to hurt you, it's just to show you what level is expected of you. And then it's the trainer himself. I had great trainers, Eric Priest, the other model, and I had Jason Ray out of Chicago, and two different complete styles of wrestling, but both with a great mentality of respect. And they would not let us into a ring to work a match unless they were 100% sure that I was going to be able to protect myself and protect the person that I'm working. So I think it comes from training, is those guys that just kind of like walk the life, and they feel like, wrestling where they can, get their rocks off and be able to create this persona about who they really are. It's not who you are when you're 10 minutes in that ring. It's what you're doing outside of that ring. What are you doing for the rest of the week? Like what makes you different? What's building your character? Not just your character in the ring, but you need to build a character out of just who you are and what kind of work you're going to put into this system. You know, I'm in the gym every day. I'm not the biggest guy, not ever was, but I'm in the gym every day. I'm always studying tape. I'm always looking at new product and new guys. That's where I'm at. And what are you doing? You know, are you the guy that's not putting in the work? Are you the guy that's not going to the gym and now you're not studying? Are you not watching your competition? We still are in competition. We all work with each other, of course. It's a family. But, the competition is, hey, how am I going to get, my name above these other guys noticed? And I just feel that all starts with training and the right people to back you. And I don't feel like a lot of people now are just not getting it. It's just kind of half-assed training, and it doesn't just show in their character. It shows in the ring, and it shows them in being able to protect the person that they're working and protect themselves, for that matter.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Well, Mike, we got a question for you that we ask all our guests on our show. What advice would you give to a fan that wants in the business or someone that's new in the business?
What advice? I was asked this a couple weeks ago, actually, on another podcast. I would say take it week by week. And what I mean by that is don't come in, thinking, in 2 years I need to be here, in 3 years I need to be here, and whatever. It's a fun business, and I think that each week needs to be taken in that aspect, and you need to enjoy week by week. So, like yesterday when I was at the show, I enjoyed the people that I was with. I got there early, and I was able to connect with people and just talk with people, and that's a blessing that wrestling does give to you. It's able to meet people all around this country, not just fans, but actual, workers from different backgrounds, from different ways of running this business, and it's so cool. It's like, take it week by week. Don't overwhelm yourself. If you overwhelm yourself, it's just going to be too much, and you're going to break down. And 90% of the guys that come into training never come back because they just are too overwhelmed by what happens. You got to take it day by day, week by week. We're weekend warriors. We're not the guys on Mondays, Tuesday nights, or Thursday nights, whatever the schedule is now. We're not those guys. We're the guys that are weekend warriors, and we just have to enjoy this business, because everything, like I said, you work so hard to be in that ring for 8 to 10 minutes for that night. What else are you doing? You gotta just enjoy it. And if you're able to get to that point where somebody's promoting you and putting you on a poster and paying you to be at their show, take that with the utmost respect, because those guys are putting money into you, and they expect you to not just be great in the ring, be professional and show up in shape and mentally and physically, be able to do this and not regret their decision. So I would say my biggest advice is take it week by week. Be humble, keep your head down, shake everybody's hand in the locker room, whether you like them or not, and that is the basics 101 of wrestling.
That's right. You come in, come correct, and you come humble.
Yes.
Well,
humble is the biggest word, and I've met guys 20, 30 years into this business, been on top of the mountain, and they are still humble to this day. And those are the most amazing types of people.
Yeah, and being humble doesn't just apply in wrestling, fans. It's also something good just to do in life, because it's a sign of respect and courtesy to be humble. And I think that's a very big value that anybody should have. But in wrestling, it goes farther.
Yes, it does. And I've seen the most unhumble of people come into wrestling and realize and be put, down on their back, and realize just, to instill that humbleness into them, to knock them back down to reality, to let them know that you're at square one, I'm glad you're here. But you know what? To knock you back down and to create a humbleness in you that you didn't have before. That I've seen people become great people because of this business, and obviously I've seen the reverse. So
yeah,
there's a double-edged sword there.
It's a very personally affected business.
Yes, it is.
Well,
I mean, it's all about the people, man. So, I mean, it is very personal, you know?
yeah, it very much is. Well, fans, this concludes our time today with Mr. Mike Matthews. We thank you for calling in. If the fans want to find you, how can they find you?
Well, I'm on, of course, I'm on Twitter at Matthews Flight. This is exactly what it is, Matthews Flight. And then I'm on Facebook at like a Mike Matthews. Those are the best ways to see what I'm doing. What matches are posted, where I'm going to be, everything else. My main promotions that I work for right now are Underground Wrestling in Chicago, Freelance Wrestling, Gold Rush Wrestling that's out in California, and APW, and there's others like Supreme Pro up in Sacramento. But those are the main places right now. Of course, there's other shows you're gonna see and pop up, and I'll be around. But that's pretty much where you find me.
Well, fans, you know how to find him. He's not a hard man to find. In the go ahead.
No, not a hard man to find us, and I enjoy interacting with people. So if they ever have any questions or want to know anything, they can private message me anytime, and I'll talk with them one-on-one.
Good to know. Good to know. We need more locker room leaders out there, and not so much of the self-driven.
Absolutely, that's well needed in a lot of these locker rooms throughout the country.
Very, very true. Well, fans, this concludes our time with Mr. Mike Matthews, calling all the way from California. We thank you very much for your time, Mike, and we wish you nothing but the best.
Pleasure's all mine, man. Thank you very much.
All right, fans, this is Mike Stover. I'm your host, and we're out.